As the Enterprise explores the universe, it is more than likely to experience some cultural clashes. I mean, after all, the crew is dealing with unimagined worlds and species and customs. Like those explorers who have previously entered new worlds, Kirk finds he needs to be more culturally sensitive, in this case to the people and customs of the planet Capella 4. Kirk's main objective is to establish an alliance with its inhabitants before the Klingons do, but he makes a major mistake, which puts everyone in jeopardy. Helene is played by actress Julie Newmar. She's best known for her role as Catwoman on the vintage TV series Batman. Also, Krass, the Klingon, is portrayed by Tig Andrews, who starred as Captain Adam Greer in the 1960s television classic The Mod Squad. Although the Klingon battlecruiser made its official debut in the third season's episode, Elan of Troyes, a fill-in design was used in Friday's Child, a glowing, bright orange animated shape which looks like something taken right out of a 1930s serial.
I think this is what Star Trek did. It reflected the best of us. And because we were interracial, and because men and women were equals, without losing their manhood and without losing their femininity, they told the stories like parables.
The Earth Federation offers one other thing, Akar. Our laws. And the highest of all our laws states that your world is yours and will always remain yours.
That humankind reaches for its highest nobility, we do not sink to our lowest base.
Their empire is made up of conquered worlds. They take what they want by arms and force.
There are those of us who will not bargain with Earthmen, Akar.
Do you say you will fight me, Mob?
Gene told the stories of everyday trials and tribulations and victories and celebrations.
We come with open hearts and hands.
A Klingon! Grant, no!
And I once accused Gene. I went into him because I was so in love with the show. With every script that came, it seemed like one was better than the other. And I said, Gene, I know what you're doing. And he looked at me with that look. And I said, you're right. You're writing morality plays. And Gene looked at me and he went, shh. How wonderful. He said, they don't know it yet. They don't know it yet. Let's keep it to ourselves.
Prepare to take us out of orbit, Mr. Sulu.
Aye, sir.
Scotty, the captain.
We have a distress call from a Federation ship under attack. That's what our...
Basically, they were morality stories, very simple. In those days of television, they didn't have the money for the sets or the special effects or all that stuff, so it was all dialogue and character interplay.
Is the new leader of the 10 tribes afraid? Let me kill him for you.
Or let the Klingon and me fight. It might amuse you.
I think the original classic Star Trek, and I'm delighted Sci-Fi Channel is doing it, bringing it back. It's very basic, and the appeal is very basic. It's very touching to people. People identify easily with the show, and that's why it's lasted, I think. No one had any idea at the time. I mean, in a way, it was, it was a Western in spacesuits.
How would a freighter know we were ordered into this sector?
A trap. We were diverted from the planet.
Well, I was the helmsman the first season, and I was the helmsman the second season. But the second season, I had this nemesis of mine, Walter Koenig, playing this Russian with this Prince Valiant wig on, as a navigator sitting right next to me.
Approaching the freighter's last reported position, sir.
Sensor report, Mr. Chekhov.
Negative, sir. No debris, no residual particles, no traces.
Mr. Sulu, begin a standard search pattern. All scanners, full intensity, Mr. Chekhov.
I hated Walter Koenig. Sight unseen, I hated him with a passion. He sailed in from nowhere after I did all the lobbying, and he took my part away from me. And then I discovered that I'm sharing a dressing room with him. I walked in, and there are 2 sets of boots, 2 sets of costume in the closet. I was raging, and as I sat in that dressing room, I heard footsteps at the front door. I heard a voice saying, "I hate it, I hate it." I waited for the door to open. It was Walter Koenig. And I said, "Well, I don't like it either." Our relationship began on that note. It turned out Walter was talking about that wig that they put on him, that silly Prince Valiant wig that they put on him. And I thought he hated the fact that he was sharing the dressing room with me.
All sweeps. Mr. Chekhov?
Nothing.
We're turning back. What 5, Helm?
What 5, sir?
From that shared dressing room, we talked intensely for a long time and got to know a lot about each other. We both went to UCLA, and I knew his wife before he married her. She was a classmate at UCLA, and we found a lot of things in common with each other. He has a brother who was in medicine, as I did. So out of that blossomed one of the best friendships I have from Star Trek.
There's an old saying on Earth, Mr. Sulu. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
I know this saying. It was invented in Russia.
Interestingly, Friday's Child was the series' 1967 Christmas episode, complete with the theme of a mother about to give birth to a child. The classic poem states, "Friday's child is full of woe, but thankfully, this one escaped that fate. This newborn child, Leonard James Akar, is destined to be Capella 4's new ruler."
What is considered normal and proper in one society may be an inexcusable breach of custom in another. If you belch at a table in America, it's considered offensive. The same action at a table in other societies is a compliment to the chef. In some Middle Eastern countries, publicly touching a member of the opposite sex is a punishable offense. And yet in other places, you can stroll down the street arm in arm with your companion. Imagine the difficulties faced by Christopher Columbus or Admiral Perry or any explorer as they encountered new cultures. Imagine extending your hand in friendship to someone who might think it's a threatening gesture. Your very life could depend on your next motion. When cultures collide, there are bound to be problems. I'm sure you recognize Julie Newmar as Eileen. However, you most likely remember her as Batman's feline felon, Catwoman. But Julie wasn't the only Batman alumnus to appear in Star Trek. Frank Gorshin, better known as Batman's nemesis, the Riddler, would appear as Beale in the 3rd season episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Lee Merriweather, who played Catwoman in the 1966 feature film version of Batman, appears as Losira in That Which Survives. And lastly, Batgirl herself, Yvonne Craig, would appear in the 3rd season episode, Whom Gods Destroy. Star Trek and Batman. Who would have thought they'd have had so much in common? You know, Friday's Child is a wonderful example of how Star Trek could be a reflection of the times. The character of Eileen, and by extension her baby, begin as virtual pawns in the battle with the Klingons to make allies out of the Capellans. But ultimately, Eileen realizes that she has the ability to make her own decisions and control her own destiny. In a sense, she rediscovers herself in a way that she never thought possible. Now, in 1967, feminism was not only on the rise, but exploding into the public consciousness. More and more women were joining the workforce, bras were being burned, and the movement for the Equal Rights Amendment was gaining momentum at breakneck speed. Well, the ERA amendment ultimately never passed. But it doesn't really matter, because like Eileen, American women found in themselves strength and power that they always possessed. And Star Trek was proud of them.